Hello and welcome to the Two Guys Named Chris show. It is great to have you listening here today on a Thursday, January the 4th. Very special day on this program, which we'll get to in just a moment. But we have pressing matters here.
The most dreaded, feared words in all of broadcasting.
We have a lineup change in here today. That's it. All right. Go ahead and click them off.
Yep. Clear your cards.
Clear the card. Well, we thought it might be coming yesterday.
We did.
Biggie was under the weather yesterday in here, just sneezing, coughing left and right. So we thought we had at least a 50% chance of a BB Shea today. Mm-hmm. And indeed, we give you BB Shea.
I'm so sorry.
My podcast partner.
I know. Killed it yesterday, you did.
No.
It's all you, man.
No,
it's all about it's all about the square.
No.
This is the new top 5 format.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. We're doing it. Well,
nothing says we're out of ideas. Like, hey, what's your top 5 fast food restaurants?
We're doing that. If you've missed the award-winning Square in the Round podcast,
they're both here.
We're here.
Yeah, right. The square one and the round one.
We're just starting that up now. That top 5 format just yesterday. That one hasn't even dropped yet.
No,
we're dropping that next week. The podcasting, and by the way, we've got a little podcast story by the end of the hour. Chris Demm hates them, as you know.
I don't hate them. I just find them utterly, they say nothing to me about my life.
Okay. We're going to add, I think you'll have more fuel for your fire after just a quick nugget from the Kelsey Brothers podcast. Mm-hmm. I just noticed it and thought, this is probably why Chris Demm says they add nothing to anyone's life. Mm-hmm. And see, BB Shea and I feel like we probably should turn the podcast around faster. Now, he produces the whole thing, okay? Mm-hmm. This is a BB Shea production. And we'll record one in here on a Wednesday, which we did, but it won't drop for 4 or 5 days or more. And I think maybe some of the things that we talk about might be, for instance, we talked about this big Jeffrey Epstein list dropping. And my last thing I said was, they're not going to drop that thing.
What did they do?
I said, they're going to delay. Well, now they've dropped the thing. So I'm going to sound like a
I thought the whole world knew that was coming.
But I just read they were going to delay it. They said they were going to delay it.
Yeah.
And I said, they're not. I said, listen, little birdie tells me that thing's going to be delayed. We're not going to see that thing for a while. Well, they dropped it 2 hours later. So I sound like a fool. I think that's part of BB.
We should start doing next day drops.
I think that, we're going to have to do next day drops.
But why? Because, I mean, they stick around for a week then, right?
Well, then they're forever. I mean, they're out there forever.
Right.
That's right. So, and then BB Shea said, I'm going to give a little preview to this week's Square in the Round. BB Shea said to me, I think Michigan's going to beat Washington. And I said, well, it's already happened by the time we...
I don't think ahead. That's my big problem.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to... The time... We got to do next day drop.
We got to do next day drop.
But you're the producer.
I got to get better at that. That's on me.
But is that...
It's hard.
That's going to put too much pressure on you guys.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Because BB Shea has a busy day.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So I
mean, his duties expanded as of Jan 1.
Yeah, you're doing more.
Yeah.
Walking that thin line of the podcast world. Very difficult.
It's weird.
We're on the razor's edge in
here.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So
not easy.
Maybe it's better to go evergreen.
Well,
with just fluff.
But we don't...
What's your favorite color?
You got to hit these hard-hitting topics, you know?
Well, we did. Our top 5 is always going to be, Chris Demm calls it going down the fluff hole. And we went down the fluff hole yesterday, but we did some hard-hitting stuff too, so it's very difficult, to be topical, knowing that material is going to be out there for a long time to come. Difficult.
Yeah. But see, you're thinking... you guys have the radio mindset. This is a podcast.
That's right.
It's a whole different thing.
You're right. I can't get out of it.
You don't need to be newsworthy.
I know.
It should be more conversation.
More fluff hole. More conversation.
More conspiracy theories, I think. That's what we got to do.
I mean, it is conversational, but it is a lot of stuff that's like we talked about the college football playoff, but by the time this drops, it's going to be over.
Yeah.
Just by a day. And so BB Shea's prediction of Michigan will have come true or not come true. So it's hard to do.
So the people who first download are going to just be laughing and laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they'll look at me and be like, "What's this fool talking about?" I mean, I said this Epstein thing, they're never going to release this thing. Too many lawyers involved, and then here it comes, right out of there. So I look ridiculous when I say something like that. Meanwhile, you talk about the radio mindset. The reason today is a special show for us, and many people have already clicked off because of the lineup change. We know that.
There's one guy who's already long gone. As soon as he heard the words lineup change and BB, click. Kelly didn't even get the word Shea out of his mouth.
That's right.
And to be fair, this person, I don't want to put him on blast, but he sends me very politely worded email. I hope to be back tomorrow. I shan't listen today.
That's right.
Because of you know who.
That's right. We know what's going on in here. Biggie is ill, and I have to say I don't look for him to be back tomorrow. But the way he was in here,
way he was yesterday, he sounded awful.
Now, normally I have no empathy for anyone's illness. You know that.
It's been your trademark.
But yesterday was like, geez, this guy is really not well.
We hope, BB Shea, that you wipe down that room.
Yes, I Lysoled it yesterday, Febrezed it, the whole deal. So yeah,
I think you should.
Yeah.
The reason it's a special day on this program is because we started this program 25 years ago today. This is the 25th anniversary of this program. BB Shea, were you listening that fateful day?
What year was that?
1999.
Okay, I was 7, so probably not. I was probably coloring somewhere.
He was 7 and coloring. What were we all doing 25 years ago? I was sitting here.
I was
right
here.
He's standing there. Yeah. And you were coloring. Well, you were probably asleep at this point.
Yeah, probably so.
Then awakened by...
to go to second grade?
To go to second grade.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Makes you feel a little old. You know, a lot of people tell me that. They're like, I listened in grade school, and now I'm 30. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. But anyhow, and I want to reiterate what our boss said. We have a general manager now who's been with us for 10 years, 10 and a half years. Yep. And he said, for the anniversary occasion... He said, well, you know, when you went on, I was competing against you. He was at another station that was our competitor, and he listened to the first show and went into his sales meeting that day and said, great news. We have nothing to worry about, and we're going to make a ton of money. Because
go ahead and buy those new cars, everybody.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many advertising dollars flowing through our station.
That's right.
Because of that new show I just heard.
That's right. Just heard the first broadcast, and he said, we are on top of the world. They were doing a dance over there. Meanwhile, our guy here, who is now retired, he... came in with like head in hands going, I don't know what I've done, and had some problems.
One of his favorite phrases was, what are we doing? What are we doing?
He would walk in here and go, what are we doing here? What's happening? And then at one point he would listen every day.
Every day.
This was the first year.
Entire 4-hour program.
All of it. And every day he would call us in to start and say, I don't get it.
We'd have closed door meetings.
Yeah, a lot of those. And then at one point he got tired of talking to us, so we'd walk by his office and peer our heads in, and he would hold up a crude drawing of either a smiley face thumbs up or a frowny face thumbs down, which was the other side of the paper. And a lot of the days it was a frowny face thumbs down. And then when we'd occasionally get the smiley face, we'd be so excited. You know, we actually got one right. But it was a rough go to start.
Touch and go.
Have you heard the first ever? Have you ever heard the very first moments?
Never heard it. No.
Well, let me give you a little background to this. Of course, we were only on one station here, and we started by having a meteorologist whose name is Ed Matthews do the weather.
He called in, and it was just on tape.
So we started the program with a 2 or 3 minute news report from Chris Demm. Now, also, I want you to keep in mind that only about 8 or 10 minutes earlier, I was in the bathroom taking the biggest nerve dump of my life. It was, Chris Demm said later, my God, you must have taken quite a, because, I was so nervous.
Well, we were terrified.
Terrified.
Because neither of us had, our names were on the show. That had never happened before.
Of course. Completely terrified. We had practiced and practiced and practiced,
but there's nothing like the real thing.
Of course, you write your notes and everything. I wanted to be in here like 30 minutes early, sitting here, and with about 5 minutes to go, I said, I've got to excuse myself. And I went and took a terrible, terrible nerve dump, and came back in here just in time to turn on the on-air buttons.
But but Kelly is the guy who punches the buttons in here, and he has always been better at that than I have. And so there's a series of buttons that you had to push back then. The technology has changed a little bit. Yeah. But essentially it's just buttons in the right order.
That's right. And I went over that and over that and over that.
Got it. First this, we'll do Demm, sponsorship, Weather, Van Morrison.
That's right. The song. The first song we played.
Okay, all right.
There's a trivia question. First song we played was Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison on this program. Okay. So it was Dim Report, sponsorship, weather, Van Morrison.
Boom.
Are you
in
ready?
that order.
Okay. So this is it.
And now this is a terrified Chris Demm and Chris Kelly.
Very first ever moments on this program.
It is 6:02, and Nextel is sponsoring the weather right now by Ed Matthews. Nextel. You've never used a phone like this before? Call 1-800-NEXTEL-9. Okay. You know what? I'm doing the wrong thing there. Quickly. First thing out of the blocks there. Here's Ed.
You're going to need to stay warm here in the Piedmont today. It's going to be partly sunny, breezy, and quite cold today. Temperatures for highs between 30 and 35, but we'll have a wind chill today.
Hey, where did we go?
15 miles per hour.
Days when the rains came
For tonight, partly
down in the hollow, playing a new game.
That's how it all started.
Still haunts you, doesn't it?
Oh, God.
gosh.
I can't hear that song anymore.
That's terrible. Did you hear
Get
that?
PTSD from listening to it.
That poor weather guy just still cackling on about, well, tonight it's going to be cold and here Van Morrison's playing. And of course, our boss, he called and was like, that's the bet. That after all the preparation, that's a year of preparation going into that very first thing. And we got through a 2-minute newscast, and the first thing I did was screw it up. That's it.
The radio host down the hall buzzed in because good start, guys.
Good start. We really wanted to impress that very first, and then look what happened. The very first thing goes so poorly like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was really worried, as you
And
can
who could have imagined?
Who could have? Here we are, 25.
Hearing that.
Yes, and here we are, 25 years later. And by the way, the weather guy's still in the same spot too.
I know.
So 25 years later, still doing it. Old Van Morrison's still chugging along.
Doing it,
He's
yeah.
still there,
Still
too.
doing it. There's our 7-year-old coloring book hero.
That's
now
right.
in here doing it. So it's gone okay. It's gone pretty well.
But you know what? I mean, and not to sound too maudlin, I don't want to get sentimental, but the listening audience was so kind to us.
Yes.
You know, we got lucky.
Yes.
And there were a few breaks that, happened professionally that, we had no control over, but we've been very fortunate.
Well, no doubt. And they, they like today, Rusty, our fact checker, already gave a nice
Low-key a-hole.
Happy
Congratulatory
25th
message. anniversary.
Talking about how effortless Chris Demm makes it look and how I'm
Yes.
always in my own head and that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
So it was very nice for him to say that. And he said, congratulations on 20 good years. 5 were not that great.
Mm-hmm.
5 here and there, you guys.
That's what I was going to ask, not to give you too much credit, but do you ever feel like you hit a stride? How long in do you really feel like you hit a stride? Or are you still striving to it?
Still.
I mean, there are days you think, there were days that first year I thought, that was okay.
Yeah.
But
No.
I don't, we don't talk about this too much, but like, was it 5 or 6 weeks in? We called it the Valentine's Day Massacre.
Awful.
It was right around Feb 14, and we've been on the air 5-6 weeks.
5 weeks, right?
And our boss came in and said, "What are we doing, guys?" Because we'd had a decent day, and then 4 garbage days.
Exactly. That's what it
we
was.
just couldn't get it right.
Yeah.
And he said, our boss came in and he said, "I'm going to take some tapes of what I've heard so far to some people that he trusted, radio minds that he trusted across the country."
Yeah.
And he said, "If they don't hear anything worth saving, I'm going to flush you. I like you, but I'll flush you."
Not personal now.
It's not personal.
He goes, and I said to him, but it's only been 6 weeks. And he said, I got to pull the trigger on this thing pretty fast.
He's got a business to
I
run.
can't sit around here. I
The
said,
advertisers, our competitors are laughing at us.
he's now our boss. He's laughing at us because of how it started. That's right. So after that meeting,
And we don't know who that person was.
No, one person
said, "I think there may be a spark there."
Yeah, he said, now it's awful, but there could be.
There's hope.
There's hope. It's like a quarterback who can't complete a pass, but he's got a good arm, I guess. And they say, well, there's potential. There's how they draft on potential sometimes instead of on what's been done. So some person somewhere said there's a spark here, and here we are 25 years
But
later.
knowing that day, we had that feeling. It was like, well, we're done.
Yes.
And I think that changed the mindset.
I agree, because he told us that probably on a Thursday, and he left because he went down there for Friday meetings and Monday meetings. And so the Friday after he told us that on Thursday, we were just like, well, just let
We
it
got
go
nothing to
now.
lose.
We got to let it go now. And it was better. You know, it was somewhat better.
Yeah.
Felt like the best one so far after 6 weeks.
Well, can I ask another question about the history of the show?
Sure.
What kind of brought you guys together? Like, what was the thing that the people thought that, hey, maybe these guys would be good to do a show together? I think people would be interested in that.
Look at that.
Or maybe not. I don't know.
No, I think that's a good question.
Yeah,
well, we were friends, and
We had sort of parallel tracks.
Yes.
You know, we each kind of started in radio. I think probably with the same dream because, you know, I think for each of us, morning shows were kind of where it was at.
Yeah.
That's where we wanted to be because you can be a little more creative at that time.
That's right.
And Kelly worked for a very powerful, talented host. I worked for a powerful, talented host. And we both kind of had the same job working for these other people.
That's right.
And we would sort of commiserate. Now, initially, we hated each other.
Oh God, couldn't stand it.
Deep hatred.
Absolutely.
Because
Immediate.
radio people are small-minded,
But yeah.
jealous, backbiting.
Breeds that hatred. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, who's this fool?
Yeah.
Who's
I've
this
heard their
jerk?
show. It's garbage.
It was awful. Both thought the other were awful.
Yeah.
But occasionally we would sort of grouse about our bosses.
Yes, you're right. Yes. There you go. Yeah.
And we realized, hey, we both like basketball,
Yeah.
stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld.
And then we had like Christmas parties here where we would do a little funny
We do the skits.
do the skits,
Okay.
you know, and plan the games and stuff like that. So the powers that be thought, well, let's try putting them together and see what happens.
Through a series of unusual occurrences.
Yes, yeah, because the other guys
This station
left.
needed a show ASAP.
Yes, and I was on another show in the building, and so I came over here, and they said, let's see how it works. Now, I didn't know anything really about the format, and still don't, as you hear on Fridays. Still learning the format. And so that's how it sort of, because we worked together pretty well on those skits and so forth. So they said, all right, let's give it a shot. You know, let's try it. So there it is. And that's how the whole thing started. And here we are now, 25 years later. And, you know, it goes on. With you, BB Shea.
Happy to be here.
Oh, good.
Congrats, guys.
Now we're doing podcasting and everything else in here. Just me and you doing that stuff. Chris Demm didn't care about the podcast.
I don't, but you know, social media didn't exist then.
What a difference.
I know. Think about it.
So think about how
apps.
different.
You can listen to the app now. We have listeners in Japan.
Oh yeah, it's
Poland.
It's completely changed. Back then, it was us against 20 other FM stations. You know, here and now it's us. Everybody. Everybody's got everything. What a total change, of course. And now we've become such good friends that, and we mentioned this earlier in the week, that Chris Demm is trusting me to take his Costco Christmas present back. He just trusted me with that. Did you know for Christmas he got a jacket from Costco from his
Nephew's wife.
Okay.
And I need it. I need a jacket.
Needs it and likes it a lot. It's a great jacket. I just felt it. I mean, it has a great feel to it. And she got it at Costco, but he needs to go one size larger. And he's not a member, so I'm going to go in there for him and explain the situation. My first instinct, of course, is to try to lie and be shady about how this jacket came about. And then somebody said, well, why don't you just tell the truth? They'll take the jacket back. And I said, oh, I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't know anything about this.
I don't know how to do that.
But I'll do it. And Chris Demm said, do you think you can pull the switcheroo because you are a premier member? And I do. I'm actually, it's called an executive membership.
Oh, not platinum?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not platinum. It's an executive membership.
Is there a higher level than executive?
No, that's as high as it goes. And the other day, when we first talked about this, Dave came in here going like, "Oh, premiere." And that boy, that ticked me off. Like, I mean, when he said that, I was like, "Boy, right here at the first of the year." He goes, "Oh, premiere." And first of all, it's executive, and that membership does have its privileges. So
What does that mean? Did they like not check your receipt at the door when you leave?
They, you know, they.
Did you get like a lounge to
You're
go
allowed
to
to
or
steal
something
one-
like that?
Exactly.
You're allowed to steal 1 6-pack of diet soda.
One extra sample from the lady
per year. Yes, I've gone up a few times with multiple samples.
in front of the line.
Front of the
sample.
line on the samples. Executive. Show your card.
Yeah.
Executive member, and it does indeed.
This lane is open for executives only. Executives only.
That's right.